Jorge Polanco was my first post-game interview in 2025. He played both the hero and the GOAT in the Mariners' season-opening win against the A's. And when I say GOAT, I do not mean greatest of all time. I mean, there was a mistake in the sixth inning that could have cost the team runs. And all of that was part of our post-game interview on the field just minutes after the team celebrated their win. You might have seen that interview. I can't show it to you. MLB owns that content. But what I can do is pull back the curtain a little bit on how the conversation played out, why I structured it the way that I did, and how that relates to conversations that you might be having with your team at work. So let's just set the stage. My job as an on-field interviewer is to grab that player right as they come through that handshake high five line. Before the cameras ever roll, which you never see, is that quick conversation that I have, usually congratulating them on whatever they have done to make them the subject of the post-game interview and to give them a heads up about anything that might be out of the ordinary. Now, for Jorge Polanco, it was not necessarily out of the ordinary, but after congratulating him on his game, I did make the comment I would be asking about the sacrifice bunt in the sixth. Now, I know that it wasn't going to be his most favorite thing to talk about, a little easier to do after a win, but he nodded his head and acknowledged, yep, it was something that we were going to talk about. I don't need to mention that right after the gate. So the first two questions, and I actually have them written down here because I take notes onto the field with me. You never know what's going to happen or where distractions are going to come from. So I'm not going to leave it to chance to remember all of my quality questions. Oh, and I know quality, it's all just a matter of opinion. But I've got the questions here. And the first two were related to his success and the opening day success in particular, coming off an injury-riddled season last year. Those were storylines that we had been following. It was a pretty big deal that he had the game that he had last night. And then by question number 3, we're getting into the nitty-gritty, including pointing out that he had 3 hits, scored a couple of runs, but there was also that sac bunt in the 6th with 1 out. And my question was, did you see something you were trying to take advantage of? A couple of things on that question. It is, in fact, a yes-no question, and his response is the exact response I needed. I didn't need him to beat around the bush. I just needed him to tell me what it is that he was trying to accomplish on that play. And he said, in fact, yes, I saw something from the third baseman. I was trying to take advantage, and it didn't work. Great. He was able to tell his side of the story, and then we moved on with the conversation that finished up talking about the home run that he had and how great it felt to win the game in kind of those terms. Now, from a post-game interview standpoint, there's a few things that relate to our business conversations. Number one, there was a lot of great things that he did, but that mistake in the 6th, and we talked to the manager about this afterwards, that is going to be a bigger conversation. Now, it's a baseball conversation, and it's something that happens frequently during the year, right? You use your instincts, they didn't work, here's how we're going to attack the process next time, or here's how I want you thinking about this the next time. Here's my point in business. Don't let that mistake slide, even when everything else looks good. It doesn't have to be an attacking conversation or an accusatory conversation. It can be an exploratory conversation to discover truly what was the thought process? What did you see? How can we make this a more effective play the next time? In the case of Jorge, look, if you would have gotten that bunt down and it would have been a single, a very different story. But you can't count on that, especially in this situation. And in business, sometimes we look at, hey, it was 3 out of 4. I mean, that's how many times he reached base. That's how many times he did a great thing at the plate. 3 out of 4 is awesome. But that 4th time, that was a killer. So don't skip the accountability conversation. And it doesn't have to be the first thing that you say right out of the gate. You can compliment somebody for a job well done or acknowledge how great they executed in other areas before getting there. The other part is, I don't want that conversation to come out of left field. No pun intended with the whole baseball thing. I want to make sure that there is a heads up so that everybody is prepared to talk about that moment. For the record, he already knew that was going to be part of the conversation. He knew that he didn't execute the way he wanted to. I could see it on his face when he got back into the dugout. It was not a surprise to him that it was part of the conversation. I just wanted to set the stage so that there would be a productive interaction. And all of that takes place in just a few seconds. And it's because there's been face-to-face conversations in a locker room. That's how this whole thing works. It's relationship building that allows you to have the conversation that you need to have in the time frame you need to have it. Okay, I hope that you've enjoyed this little breakdown of post-game interviews. I kind of nerd out when talking about questions and why things flow the way that they do. Maybe I'll give you a few more throughout the season. How's that? Okay, sounds good.